Assalamu alaikum, I'm Hiba.
And I'm Zaid,
You're listening to Diary of a Matchmaker.
a podcast that will take you into our world as matchmakers.
We'll share our experiences and offer advice for the single Muslim.
So let's dive in. Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to another episode.
Welcome back. Assalamu alaikum.
We are blessed to have a guest.
Special guest with us today, the youngest guest we've ever had, I would say. Yeah.
a
Only 7 weeks.
Only 7
Yeah.
weeks, sharing her words of wisdom about food, sleep, diaper changes, giving us her food reviews about the taste of milk, all that good stuff.
So if you guys hear some funny sounds, some sneezing, some embarrassing sounds, no, it's not us.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, alhamdulillah, we're on to our second episode in a series that we have titled Nikah Contracts.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to kickstart with a question for you.
Sure.
At what point do marriage conditions become wisdom?
Mm.
And at what point do they become a sign that you probably shouldn't get married?
That's a good question.
Okay.
I think, honestly, everything, like we always say, goes back to intention.
Right.
Where is this condition coming from? Is it because you had a bad experience that you don't want to repeat?
Mm-hmm.
Is it because you don't trust this person you're about to marry?
Mm-hmm.
Is it... Yeah, I think she agrees on the second one. She doesn't trust this person.
Yeah, she doesn't trust us.
Or is it because this thing you're putting as a condition is a priority to you and you just want to... Sorry, guys, this is the only way to do it these days. We can't ask for a babysitter every time. I think it's cute.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
cute.
Let us know if you think it's annoying or cute. But yeah, honestly, it just goes back to intention.
And the other thing is that, and I've seen this a lot with our clients too, that when people start putting conditions,
Mm-hmm.
right, or addressing these things, it's usually because their sister had this experience, their
Right.
cousin had this experience,
Right.
or their best friend went through something like this, and they think it's going to happen to them
Right.
too.
I want to
Right?
protect myself.
Right. So whether it's pursuing education, whether it's living arrangements, whatever it might be,
Yeah.
they've seen these experiences play out in front of them, and it's kind of shaping their expectations when it comes to marriage.
Yeah, I agree.
So let's set the foundation. Why do Muslims avoid these conversations? It's mostly out of fear. People don't want marriage to feel transactional.
Yeah, it kills the romance once you start talking about conditions.
Yeah.
It might convey a level of insecurity
Yeah.
or control. Maybe the person might be perceived as controlling
Mhm.
or lack of trust, like I said.
Right. The important thing to note is that these are opportunities for clarity.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
And also to see how the other person communicates. Like if you mention a condition, will he immediately flip or say, oh, you don't trust me? Or like sometimes it's not about the condition itself. Sometimes it's about how the person reacts to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's important to understand the purpose of these conditions. All right. They're not traps. They're not punishments. It's nothing like that.
Yeah.
It's solely for the purpose of clarity and protection.
Yeah.
And we can kind of dive into prenups. Like, we're not lawyers. We don't have any legal expertise. But what we do know is that prenups are allowed in Islam. And you were talking a little bit about this before we started recording.
Yeah. But I would suggest, honestly, why don't we dedicate an episode to that
Yes.
instead of just putting everything here in one episode?
Yeah, but I'm just going to briefly say in one or two sentences that
Okay.
prenups are allowed in Islam. They are very much encouraged by Muslim lawyers. And lastly, the last thing I want to say is that if you live in the U.S. and Canada, which is, I believe, where most of our listeners are, that if you don't have a prenup aligned with Islamic law, then you're just leaving the marriage or the fallout of the marriage to the Western legal system.
So yeah, it's any Western country, not just America or Canada. Any Western country.
That's true. That's
Yeah,
true. I didn't
yeah.
think about that.
Yeah. But inshallah, we'll dedicate an episode to that.
As soon as we can find a Muslim lawyer.
Yeah.
Which we've been searching for a long time,
Yeah.
but we haven't had much luck.
Yeah.
So if you guys know someone, hit us up on info@halalmesh.ca.
Yeah.
Okay, so going back to the purposes. So yes, like I said, clarity, protection. Anything else you want to add to that?
Not to that specific point, but before we talk about the types of conditions that can go in a marriage contract, a condition needs to meet certain conditions to be a legit condition.
Okay, that's a lot of conditions.
It's really
Okay.
simple. Let me just break it down.
Okay,
So,
I'm listening.
in order for a condition to be valid, to go
Okay.
in a nikah contract,
Mm-hmm.
it needs to meet certain criteria. Number one, is that it fulfills an interest or a benefit to one of the parties. So you can't have just an arbitrary condition, I don't know, just because you want to make the other person's life more difficult.
Right.
Yeah. Like,
But-
it needs to fulfill a certain interest or a benefit.
It kind of feels like common sense. Like, why would anybody put an arbitrary condition that, like, I don't know, for example, you have to be okay. God, I can't even think of something. Like,
For example,
well, you have to be okay with eating out every day.
no, somebody could put an arbitrary condition just because they need that sense of control.
Okay.
You never know. Some people are screwed up in their heads.
Okay. You must
Okay.
always obey me.
Okay, something like that.
Yeah.
Number 2,
Okay.
the condition can't make a halal haram or a haram halal.
And we'll get into that because that kind of leads me to my next point
Yeah.
about polygamy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but not just polygamy. I don't know. You can't put a condition on the girl. You cannot wear hijab in the future. You can't wear hijab and embarrass me in front of my friends. Something like that.
People put that kind of stuff?
You never know how people think. We are in 2026 if you haven't heard.
I heard. I heard.
Yeah. So these mainly are the conditions that need to be in a marriage condition. Now, what do you think happens if one of these conditions, like a legit condition, hasn't been met? Like the husband violated it or the wife violated the condition that the husband put.
Give me an example.
I don't know. Like she put a condition that he can't relocate internationally suddenly for no reason.
And he
right?
does it.
And he does it. What do you think happens?
It invalidates the contract, and which would hence invalidate the marriage, would it not?
So what does that mean?
So that's grounds for annulment / divorce? I don't know.
That's what I wanted to hear. Annulment / divorce, because they're not the same.
Right.
So let me make it more simple. If a wife violates a condition, then talaq happens. Not annulment, divorce happens, and she doesn't get any of her rights. Like, for example, let's say she had most of the mahr set as a delayed mahr. She doesn't get that. Divorce happens and she doesn't get her rights because she violated a condition.
Okay.
And if the opposite happens, if he violates a condition, then annulment happens. It's not talaq, annulment, fasakh.
Okay.
Yeah. And he has to pay her rights. So he has to pay the rest of the mahr. He has to pay the nafaqat al-idda, like idda, alimony. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
For how long? That's a separate discussion.
No, idda is 3 months. That's it.
3? Oh, yeah, for those 3 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this is just to say how serious conditions are. The Prophet ﷺ said that Muslims respect their conditions.
Yeah, the contract.
So, their contracts, exactly. Yeah. So that's not something to be taken lightly.
Okay, wow. So let's dive into some of the kind of tricky areas. You and I getting married. And you put on as a condition prior to our marriage that I will not take on a second wife.
Oh, you immediately want to jump to that area.
Let's do it. Let's go right there.
Yeah.
So, number one, you are making halal haram. As far as my understanding goes, that there's a difference of opinion on this specific matter of polygamy. Is there not?
There is some disagreement.
Okay.
But the majority of opinions is that this is a valid condition.
Really?
Because it's not taking a second wife, that's not obligatory, right?
Right.
So the condition can't make an obligatory thing haram.
Okay.
And can't make a forbidding thing halal.
Okay.
Taking a second wife, that's not obligatory. It's a mubah.
Okay.
It's allowed.
Okay.
But I'm stopping you from doing an allowed thing. And you agreed to that.
Okay.
So you have to respect that.
Okay. But nonetheless, there's still difference of opinion on that.
Yes. But the majority of opinions is that this is a legit condition.
Okay.
And there was one more thing I forgot to mention about the validity of a condition. It can't contradict the purpose of marriage. So, for example, you can't put as a condition that we're not going to consummate.
Okay.
Or that we're not going to live together. Because that contradicts the principle or the what is the word I'm looking for? The essence. The reason why Allah made marriage, like shara'a lana al-zawaj, why Allah made marriage halal for us.
Right.
It's
So
to
that we
enjoy
can
our company. It's to
satisfy our needs.
satisfy our needs. It's
Yeah.
to whatever.
Okay, fair enough. So on the flip side, and we hear this all the time about girls. I'm in medical school right now,
Yeah.
or I'm about to start medical school. I don't want to drop medical school for the sake of my husband, and my husband has to respect and allow me to not just complete my medical school, but allow me to work post medical school as a doctor.
Okay, so let me just ask you simply:
Yes.
does this make an obligatory thing haram?
No.
Does this make a haram thing an obligation?
A haram thing, an obligation?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, does this go against the purpose of marriage?
That's kind of tricky because let me elaborate.
Okay.
Not the purpose of marriage, but what I'm saying is it kind of goes against the role of a woman.
Okay, that's not
Right.
what we're talking about.
That's why I feel like it's going to a gray area at the same time because a woman's role or her fard responsibilities are to be the caretaker of the home, to take care of her husband and kids and things like that. And now she's putting a condition on her contract where it would take away from that,
Well, if she's saying
right?
we're
And let's say they have children while she's in medical school
first of all,
or while
this
she's in
is
residency.
first of all, this is a temporary thing. She's not going to
Mhm.
be in medical school forever.
All right.
I mean, that would bode really well for her as a doctor. I wouldn't want her to be my physician. And number two, this does not contradict the essence of marriage, because if she says, you and I are going to live separately until I'm done with medical school, we are not going to consummate, we are going to be just married on paper, then that goes against it.
That's a
Yeah,
problem.
yeah. And lastly, does it bring benefit to her, or is it just an arbitrary condition?
It does bring benefit to her.
Okay,
Yes.
then all conditions are met. This is a legit condition.
Okay.
Mm.
Let's talk about another example that makes sense. Financial agreements. Sometime I remember one of the guys that talked about a dual checking account,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Um,
Oh God, I have a feeling that guy would have wanted to put that into writing. 50%, 50%.
Yeah, we run into the whole 50% thing a lot actually with guys.
Mm.
So one of the conditions a guy could put is we're going to have separate checking accounts. Yes, I'm going to fulfill my obligations in providing food, shelter, housing, maintenance, and whatever. But we're going to have separate accounts, and my money is going to be in my account, and you are not going to have access to my account. And if you want to give me access to your account, you're more than welcome to, but you don't have to. And then I think
If
I guess
he's-
that's fine. That fulfills all the conditions, right?
Yeah, if he fulfills his role and he's spending and he's not being stingy, then yeah.
Do you think most girls would probably have an issue with that?
Because not because of
Because it
the
just
arrangement
makes it sound
itself,
so
because
shady.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah,
it draws
right.
lots of suspicions.
Very much.
Yeah, yeah. What about if the guy wants as a condition that she has to contribute 50%? Do you think that's allowed?
No,
No.
no.
Yeah.
Because that's not fard.
Exactly.
It's not an obligation. Yeah.
Because his obligation is to spend,
right.
and he's making it an obligation for her instead.
Right. You can't put your obligations on somebody
Exactly.
else.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about this? You cannot visit your parents, whether it's the guy or the girl asking for this.
No, because ties of kinship is a part of our deen
Yeah,
too.
exactly. But something worth mentioning, when we're talking about conditions,
Mm-hmm.
there should be no form of pressure. And sometimes that could be actual pressure or pressure, emotional pressure. Like the woman feels like, oh, if I say no to this condition, then he might cancel the whole thing. I might not find another husband. So this is more like emotional pressure. Or if I say no to this condition, then my parents are going to get upset because I wasted such a good opportunity. Conditions have to be agreed out of one's own will.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Okay, what do you think of this condition? You must give me access to all your passwords.
I don't know what guy would be okay with that.
No, I'm actually thinking that the guy is putting this as a condition.
Oh wow. Well, you're ending the relationship before it even begins.
Exactly.
Holy.
So, sometimes it's not about like this is Islamically allowed and this is Islamically not
Yeah.
allowed. Sometimes that's not even the conversation.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's way deeper than that and more nuanced than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where is this coming from?
Again, back to what I said in the beginning, that this guy has probably heard about a terrible divorce situation that happened with his best friend, and he wants to make sure it doesn't happen to him. So he's allowing his expectations to be shaped by his environment.
Or maybe the guy is just a control freak.
Or that.
Yeah.
Or that. Yeah.
There's a difference between privacy and secrecy. We're all entitled to privacy. Even between
Yeah.
husband and wife, there should be some privacy, I think.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it should be addressed early on. For example, you can say, I don't feel comfortable you reading my diary or having access to my inbox, right?
Yeah.
And that's totally fine.
Yeah.
I think we're at a point where we go through each other's phones. I tell you to check my text messages. I tell you to go to my inbox. Yeah.
There's nothing to hide.
There's nothing. I open your mail.
Yeah.
You open my mail. Whatever. Yeah.
But some couples might not feel comfortable doing
Every
that,
relationship's different.
especially in the beginning. We weren't like this in the beginning.
You weren't?
No, I don't remember going through your email, like, I don't know, the first month we got married.
Well, there was no need for it. It's not like I was acting suspiciously.
I know.
Okay, let's try another example. You must always obey me.
What do we mean by obey? If you're asking me to do something haram, then I'm not going to obey you with that.
That's a no-brainer.
If you're asking me to accept and be okay with humiliation, lack of respect, with violence, with abuse, then I'm not going to obey you with that. But what about this one? You cannot disagree with me in public.
No. No, that's not going to work.
That's not going to work. Because first of all, what do we mean by disagree? What if you are sharing wrong information? What if you are lying in public? What if you are, doing verbal abuse to me in public? And I can't disagree with you? So a lot of things are vague sometimes. And that's another thing I forgot to mention of what constitutes a valid condition, that it can't be vague words.
Right, just like any other contract.
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
The terms have to be clear.
So that's something that actually I think most Muslims don't think about when we talk about marriage and nikahs, is that it's a contract. It's an actual contract. When we think about contracts, what do we think? We think about financial contracts. We think about, lease contract. But marriage is actually a contract, and it's the holiest and most serious of contracts.
What's the term again in the Quran for a binding knot?
ميثاقا غليظا.
Yes, it's mithaqan ghalidha.
So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used the same words when he described the covenant he took from his prophets. He described that as a mithaqan ghalidha. And he used the exact same words to describe nikah.
Yeah.
So it just shows you how serious it is. So if you say yes to a condition, you better fulfill it.
So this is a popular one we see, I think more so with girls and guys, right? That you can't have friends of the opposite gender. Can you put that as a condition?
Honestly, I think the average Muslim doesn't have friends of the opposite gender. And by friends, I mean friends, like somebody you turn to at the difficult times, somebody you text like once a week and ask about their well-being. I think the average Muslim doesn't have that. But do we have colleagues of the opposite gender? Do we have, acquaintances? Do we have family friends? Yes. But I don't think the average Muslim goes to, unburden themselves by discussing personal matters with someone from the opposite gender. What do you think?
No, I think it comes back to boundaries.
Okay.
We have non-Muslim female friends.
Yeah.
And we go over to their house. They come over to our place. We know them. We meet them in different settings. We do a lot of activism work too.
Yeah.
So,
but they're friends of the both of us.
Yes.
It's not like I have an exclusive guy friend and you have an exclusive girlfriend.
True. So mutual understanding the reality
Yeah.
of the situation.
Yeah.
All of that stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. But this, if somebody puts this as a condition, again, either it's coming from a place of distrust, insecurity, or a need for control, or a really bad experience.
Yeah. Usually guys get slapped with that label of control, but often it can not always, but oftentimes be girls too.
Yeah, lots of our clients, they ask for this. Like when we ask, what are you looking for? Somebody who doesn't have friends of the opposite gender.
Yeah, I see it on application forms all the time.
Yeah. Do you think that the previous generation and the one before it, they added conditions to their marriage contracts?
No.
Do you
In
think
most
they were
cases-
aware that you can add conditions?
No. I think most cases that I've seen, there were arranged marriages. They had no idea what conditions they could put, and so they just went with whatever the culture told them was.
So this is
The
due to
case.
lack of education, or because like they were just simpler times, simpler people. They didn't overcomplicate things like we tend to.
I'd say lack of education. And yeah.
Do you think we overcomplicate marriage? Like specifically
Oh,
talking
100%.
about, specifically I'm talking about marriage contracts by adding like this condition and that condition and whatever. Do you think, or we just want to protect ourselves?
I don't think people discuss conditions enough. I think people overcomplicate things by adding too much cost to the wedding, having unrealistic expectations, especially when it comes to the guy. I think these are the things that are killing marriage before it even happens.
Some couples discuss centerpieces way more than discussing conditions and the marriage contract itself.
Yeah.
Hey, if you have a story to tell, we'd love to have you on. Here you'll find a safe space of listeners who can understand what you're going through. Just shoot us an email with a summary of your story at info@halalmatch.ca.
So the important thing to note, guys and girls, is that conditions are allowed on your marriage contract. And there's nothing wrong with adding reasonable conditions as long as they meet the conditions of the condition, which Hiba mentioned early on in the episode.
So let's just go over them quickly. So a condition has to fulfill a benefit to at least one of the parties.
Right. So they cannot just be some arbitrary, random thing saying, ice cream for breakfast, lunch, and dinner or something. I don't know.
Imagine.
Yeah.
A condition cannot contradict the purpose of marriage itself.
Which is, cohabitation, fulfilling one another's needs, things like that.
A condition can't make a fard haram and can't make a haram fard.
Right.
So, for example, he can't say that you can't wear hijab in the future, and she can't say, I don't know, you can't visit your parents.
That brings up an interesting point where, a girl's not wearing hijab, and he puts on the nikah contract that she must start wearing hijab after they get married.
That's legit.
And that's totally legit because hijab is fard, and he has every right to put that on the contract. And in fact, he shouldn't even have to put it on the contract because she should be wearing it technically.
But he can't force her to wear it. So if she says yes to the condition, she needs to fulfill it. But anyway, you want to wear the hijab not to make a guy happy. You want to wear it to make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala happy with you.
Of course. Yeah. So keep these things in mind, guys, that you have options, whether you're a guy, you're a girl. And the one thing I want to say specifically to the girls is that, and we've kind of addressed this in previous episodes, that getting married doesn't mean you have to give up certain things.
Right.
Your education, your career, your independence. There are ways to put conditions and safeguards in your contract to make sure that you are protecting yourself in the future. If your education and the time and money that you've invested into building your career is important to you, you can safeguard that in your contract.
Yeah.
So remember, keep these things in mind, and inshallah, next time we will dive even deeper into this series of nikah contracts.
Yeah. Until next time.
Assalamu alaikum.